Devonte left. It came back and caught a touchdown. He left. It looked nasty. I thought it was. I was like, holy shit! I didn't know what he had originally done. But he was gone for 20 minutes. What does that tell you when you have? Is that to break down so we're clear? Is the off-site neurologist? Does he go back into the room there with the doctor on the team, and then they say, okay? But I've never seen a 25, 30 minute.
Yeah, that was. I was really surprised he came back. I was doing something. I came back, and I was like, wait a minute, he's on the field now.
Yeah.
So I assumed he was pretty much done for the game. When he landed, the guy who, I forgot his name, but the defender kind of clipped his thigh and it kind of rotated him. Yeah. And then remember, that's turf, and turf has concrete under it. So, you hit hard. He did hit his shoulder, but it wasn't enough to dissipate the energy from his head. And he kind of stayed down for 2, 3, 4 seconds. Kind of reminded me of Josh Allen a little bit, but obviously the trauma impact was different. The angle was different.
Doc, as soon as it happened, Smitty, as soon as he's doing it happen, I'm like, oh shit, here's MetLife again. Because that's the field. That's the field where it all happens.
Yeah, they got some bad juju in that field. So traditionally, once they take his helmet, that almost always means concussion, or at least evaluation for concussion. Traditionally, the way it works is the team doc, there's 4 team docs. 2 were traditionally orthopedic surgeons, and 2 were what we call non-surgical sports med, like me. Either of the 2 docs that are non-surgical can evaluate for a concussion. One of them will evaluate him initially, usually between 3 and 5 minutes, just depending on how extensive they want to do and how obvious it is. If there's additional concern, or there's another injury, neck, something like that, sometimes they'll bring them to the locker room to get more privacy and also possibly get x-rays or whatever. The fact that he went there and he was gone for a really long time, I pretty much assumed he was done, but they never announced him being out. Usually they say, yeah, he's out for a concussion, done for the game. That likely tells me the independent neurologist cleared him. He had to have cleared him. He or she had to have cleared him regardless. But so traditionally the way it works is if the team doc says there's a concussion, it's over. It don't matter. If the team doc says there's not a concussion, then the independent neurologist has to say, yes, I agree. Usually evaluate them themselves and then say, yes, I agree. If there's a discrepancy, then they have to talk it out over and figure out, what to do. So maybe they evaluated him, they cleared him, but they wanted to check out his shoulder or whatever. Yes, that's very rare that someone comes back that much later and actually plays and contributes. Usually either it's true or the game's over. Rarely do you have that much time and it comes back. But the fact that he came back and looked quote unquote normal tells me he got lucky and he didn't suffer a concussion. But yeah, just a little bit of an interesting
it was
situation there.
Yeah, I was shocked. We got you. We missed you Tuesday. Where you at this Friday as we go into the NFL weekend? It's a very interesting one because, we saw a team last night, 6-2, face a 2-6 team. Now they're 1-6-3, one's 3-6. There's a lot of injuries out there. Obviously, they got Hassan Reddick in the New York Jets last night. They got 8 sacks. My guy, Jermaine Johnson's done for the year. They had other guys injured. They brought in some guys like this. This is the time where usually the NFL has the injury bug hit them. But we've seen the injury bug since day one this season at an all-time high. Any big-time news that we're going to see some big-time guys?
Yeah, there's a couple of big players that potentially are. There's about 15 guys that could go either way this week, which is a lot. Usually I have a good grip by now, but this week is very interesting. Lamar Jackson has not practiced yet this week. They initially called it a rest, but you usually don't rest back-to-back days. They put him on the report with a combination of back and knee injuries. We have not heard a single thing besides the fact that he hasn't practiced. That's all we know. Is this the same knee as a couple of years ago, which was with PCL sprain? Is this a new knee, a new issue, new part of the knee, different knee? Is it mild, moderate, severe? What's up with the back? Is it just sore? Did he have is there a disc herniated? Does he have a strain? Like, is he have sciatica going down his leg? Like, what's going on? There's a lot of variables here. He's currently my projected number 1 fantasy quarterback of the week. So kind of important there.
I think he's good, Doc. From what my sources tell me, I've heard he's good, and he's at that stage in his career where he can afford to miss, let other guys get reps. He'll come in today, he'll practice, and he'll
if he
go.
practices today, I think he'll be fine. But if he doesn't practice today, I think we're gonna be it's gonna be a little bit more interesting.
Stick to quarterbacks, Doc. What about Jordan Love?
Jordan Love sounds like he's trending in the right direction, which is a little surprising. But there's two reasons why. One of the reasons he should, quote unquote, miss is because they have a bye next week. They are traditionally really conservative. The Packers are. So wouldn't surprise me if they sat him out. But this is, if I remember correctly, this is the divisional game, and this is potentially a big swing in the division. Groin strains are annoying, but not super concerning and frustrating. If he re-injures it and turns into a grade 2, they will be kicking themselves because he's going to miss about 3 or 4 weeks. Those can be very frustrating. So as long as, he doesn't feel like it's going to re-injure it, or he's just really cautious with it, then I think he plays. I think there's like a 70% chance he plays. If he tweaks it, if they're like, it's just not worth it, we're going to trot out Malik Willis, then obviously we'll see that. But I think we'll have a pretty good idea today. It's trending in the direction, yes, he's playing.
What about Derek Carr?
Derek Carr, I'm assuming he's playing. He's pretty much, been practicing in limited capacity the past couple of days, and he's trending in the right direction. I don't have any other reason why he should not play this week. As with Jared Goff, who had a minor ankle, he'll be fine. Drake May, we're still waiting on concussion protocol. Aaron Rodgers got banged up last night, as per usual recently, but managed to pull it off and look pretty good. Andy Dalton, I don't know if they announced who's going to start this week. Andy's back on the practice squad back on the practice field after spraining that thumb secondary to that car accident last week. He doesn't have a whole lot of receivers that are elite anymore. Jalen Coker did something that was super surprising. In the first, this was from a guy on Twitter, FUSUE, I believe is how it's pronounced. I read it this morning and I was really surprised. There's only been 4 wide receivers drafted on day 3 since 2006 that have posted a wide receiver score grade of 80 or higher over the first 8 weeks of the season. Puka Nacua, Tyreek Hill, forgetting the third one, and Jalen Coker was the 4th one. Stephon Diggs was the 4th one. So that's some interesting territory. Okay, maybe Coker is legit. So that was very fascinating.
Speaking of Nacua, yesterday, another freaking, like, what's going on? Is this another guy that's just, we're never going to see his full potential?
So this was my concern. This popped out last night when I was at my Halloween party. This was a little surprising, but not really. So if you remember last week, they were like, oh yeah, we're going to potentially activate him this week. He gets 2 limited practices and all of a sudden, like, yeah, he's playing. We're like, what? Like, I don't remember the last time someone came off of a 6-week injury, practiced limited capacity twice, and then played that like immediately, and then looked like nothing ever happened. Unfortunately, that PCL is notorious for re-injury. These are frustrating. This is what Lamar had a couple of years ago. And as a result, he tweaked it, in my opinion. It sounds like it's not a super big deal, but if you miss 6 weeks with it, then it is a little bit of a big deal, even if it's not a huge re-injury. And this may cause a little bit of issues. This knee may not feel stable or as stable. This may feel a little bit of swelling. He might not be able to be as explosive. So it sounds like he's probably still going to play, but we got to err a little bit more on the side of caution. Maybe that helps Cooper Kupp a little bit more.
God damn.
A couple other guys, if you want to know. Josh Jacobs should be fine with his ankle. Tony Pollard, foot injury. He's not practiced this week. I'm assuming this is probably a midfoot sprain. We haven't heard any specifics at all. He has a fantastic matchup, so we'll have to keep an eye on this. I think Tajay Spears suffered a setback with his hamstring. He was supposed to play last week. He was the only guy I predicted that was going to play that didn't play. And then he did not practice yesterday, which is the opposite of what he had been doing. So, I don't know. The others, we'll have to see about that. So I don't know where they're going to go with that situation if Pollard and Spears are going to be both out. We'll have to see. One more thing, Tyrone Tracy suffered a concussion on Monday night. was on the field Wednesday, which is usually stage 2, and was doing a little bit, not a whole lot, which is fine. It's a little still earlier than I expected to see him. Yesterday, he practiced in a limited capacity, which would have technically been stage 3. Today should be stage 4, a full practice, non-contact. That tells me that he needs a practice tomorrow, which they don't usually do, to play Sunday. If
That's
not,
that's the Giants guy, right?
Yeah, this is the Giants kid that looks really good.
Yeah.
Because of the Monday concussion, he loses a day to clear the protocol. So, he's trending in the right direction, but they're running out of days. And traditionally, it's not in the rule book per se that it has to be 24 hours per step. But traditionally, when we see this, if a guy suffers a concussion on Sunday, there's 5 steps in 4 days. They can't even play on Thursday. So how does that rule not apply for Sunday through, or Monday through Sunday? We'll have to see, what's going on here. But he's trending in the right direction with a great matchup. But, I'm just curious to see how they're going to play this out.
Doc, here's what I understand. So Tuesday is usually an NFL off day, but they can practice that day if they wish to. Most teams do other things. They also have Saturday. Legally, they can use Saturday if they had to. If it wasn't a travel day, they could use it as getting a day to get a guy cleared. So you can add the Tuesday game, or you can add a Tuesday practice you didn't practice to a Saturday and do a walkthrough and call it a practice.
Yeah,
so,
that might be what they have to do for him, because if there's, Tuesday would have been technically day 1 or stage 1, assuming everything goes fine. Wednesday would have been stage 2. Thursday would have been stage 3. Friday, today would be stage 4. There's still another day. So, that's where, we'll have to see. It is what it is. Bucky Irving is dealing with a chronic toe injury that he'll be dealing with reportedly all season from college.
The Bucs got riddled, man. The Bucs might have just ended their season with all these injuries.
But he's still going to play through it. He looks good. So we'll have to see about that. Baker's still firing it off. Jonathan Taylor looked good. Travis Etienne is returning this week. Keaton Mitchell may make his debut this week, probably pretty deep behind obviously King Henry and then Justice Hill, but he's super potent dude. We'll just have to see what he can do after that bad ACL. And then Jonathan Brooks may make his debut this week. They haven't been super clear. He's had multiple full practices in a row. I think they have until next Wednesday to officially activate him. If not, he's done for the year. So, we'll have to see that. Brian Robinson's dealing with a hamstring injury. He's practiced in limited capacity the past 2 days, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But definitely a little bit worrisome. Even if he does play, he might not be 100%. We're going to transition to wide receivers. Amari Cooper with a wrist, probably okay, but we'll see. I think Brian Thomas Jr. ends up playing this week with that rib bruise, which is great news for fantasy, with Christian Kirk having a season-ending clavicle fracture, and then Gabe Davis being banged up with a shoulder himself. Calvin Ridley had a great week last week. Injured his shoulder, he'll be fine. Tyler Boyd, on the other hand, doesn't look like he's probably going to be able to go. Tyler Lockett with an oblique, he'll be fine. Sterling Shepard, I expect to probably miss this week with a hammy. And I expect Nico Collins, who they really, really need to come back next week because they look out of sorts without him. It's like Stroud forgets how to play. It's unfortunate. Tank Dell looked good last night, but no one else could get any separation. Xavier Hutchins didn't do anything. John Mechie didn't do anything. Schultz did a little bit. Mixon looked incredible, but they really need Nico out. Mike Evans should also be back potentially next week, although he's kind of playing with fire a little bit. T. Higgins, I don't think he's going to play this week. He had that quad likely strain on Friday, so it's basically been a week. These don't heal in a week, and every time you run, you fire that quad, and you're going to restrain it, just like a hamstring. So he might miss another week. I don't expect him to play this week. We'll have to see. DK Metcalf has not been able to practice yet with his MCL, so there's a possibility he plays this week, but I don't see it unless he magically decides to practice today. And then Josh Downs has been dealing with that toe for a while, probably turf toe, but he looks incredible. Your buddy IR5 got benched.
Great.
So, And we've seen Downs with Flacco look incredible, so I expect that to continue. Will happen that we'll obviously see what's going on with some of these other guys, wide receiver wise. Maybe Thielen makes it back, maybe not. Quentin Johnson probably going to return after his likely high ankle. Lad McConkey is a beast, and he looks really good.
Out the one.
Mild hip injury that he has a crazy injury history. Oh my God. But very talented. David Njoku popped up. I think it was with an ankle. Obviously we don't know if this is the same high ankle from earlier this season or a new one. But we'll have to keep an eye on it. He's probably nothing, but still. Noah Fant hasn't practiced this week with a groin strain, so we'll have to keep an eye on him. Taysom Hill with a new foot injury. Probably the only person I've ever seen that has had multiple Liz Frank fractures in each foot. So he has a crazy foot injury history. So we'll have to see how.
Derek Carr back. Derek Carr
will be back. As far as I know, he should be back.
What about DK Metcalf? DK.
DK.
You already said that.
What's that?
Go ahead.
And then Taysom Hill, risky. I don't think Dallas Goedert plays, and Hawkinson should be back.
Hawkinson big. Okay, got you.
Yeah.
And yeah, interesting. Huh.
A lot. Hey, one thing I just noticed though. You was in your bag just now, Doc, going through all these names. It was a lot of names.
80.
And you was talking as fast as you could, but it was so many names. It was like, damn, everybody's hurt.
Everybody.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem with this is like I pull guys off that are still a little bit risky, but not technically on the report anymore. But, this could be easily 110 names if I just didn't pull guys off that are technically, a couple weeks back, but still risky, like, Devonte with his hamstring, something like that. It's just it's kind of crazy. And mind you, people are like, hey, what about this player? I'm like, I only follow what I call fantasy or offensive skilled players. I can't even follow the linemen that the defensive players. Like, it's just crazy. There's so many injuries.
A lot of linemen out.
Yeah, there's a ton of linemen. It's just like you need another department just for that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Man, we appreciate you, Doc, for jumping in here on a Friday before the weekend to get this thing underway. All you guys go make your picks accordingly. If you're a DFS guy, Doc's always there. And follow him on social media, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Doc, we'll see you next week. I appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend. I hope it's sunny and hot there. It's kind of cold and nice here, so
I'll be at a anti-aging wellness conference with Huberman, Asprey, Brian Johnson, a bunch of the big name people trying to get
cayenne and water.
That might be vodka, but no.
Aaron Rodgers said cayenne and water.
It worked for him. I was gonna say it worked last night.
Yeah. My supplement has a version of cayenne in FYI. But I'll report to you guys next week about how we can live longer and healthier. And
we got to break down your meds. We got to break down the pills you sent me on Tuesday.
Yeah, those are some natural anti-inflammatories.
I know, because you didn't give your address.
I didn't get anything. Yep.
We'll talk about it in due time.